Disneyland is without question the most influential theme park in history. It defined the term itself and launched the Walt Disney Company as we know it today. Since its opening in 1955, Disneyland has played host to over 500 million total guests and has become a cultural icon. Disneyland's initial plans were very different from the park that we know today. It was originally to be named Mickey Mouse Park, and the concept and execution of this park would have been completely different from its final incarnation. Ever since the release of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Walt Disney frequently received letters from children and their parents requesting tours of the studio. Walt felt that a tour of an animation studio would simply be boring to most people, so he started planning an amusement park right next to the studio. This amusement park would be open to anyone who wanted to see inside the studios, and most importantly, meet the animated characters. There was only one problem: Walt wasn't sure how to make it work. Walt's inspiration for Mickey Mouse Park came from many places, but his love of trains was perhaps the most influential. Walt's childhood home in Marceline, Missouri was just a short distance from the Santa Fe Railroad, and it was there that he developed his early love for trains. As a young boy, Walt's uncle worked as an engineer for this railroad. Walt would always be listening for trains coming down the tracks, and he would frequently meet his uncle as he made his way through town. The Disneys eventually moved away from Marceline to Kansas City, but Walt's love of trains would stay with him throughout the rest of his life. Later on as an adult, Walt was ordered by his doctor to find a hobby as a way to relieve stress. He took up polo, but was forced to quit soon afterward due to a back injury. It was around this time that Walt visited the home of Disney animator Ward Kimball. Kimball owned and built a full-scale railroad and locomotive in his backyard, and as soon as Walt saw it, he knew he had to build one himself. Walt and Kimball soon started work on the Carrollwood Pacific Railroad, a 2,500-foot-long, 8th-scale rideable railway in Walt's Los Angeles backyard. Shortly before they started work on this railway, Walt and Kimball attended the 1948 Chicago Railroad Fair. The Chicago Railroad Fair was an enormous convention dedicated to trains, with tons of exhibits ranging from model railroads all the way up to the real thing. The main draw of the fair was the chance to experience riding nostalgic locomotives to a variety of different staged environments. Among these environments were New Orleans and a Gold Rush-era frontier town, both complete with their own shops and restaurants. There was even a 35-foot-tall robotic Paul Bunyan and free fireworks shows every night during the fair. Walt came home from the fair raving to his wife that it was the most fun that he'd ever had in his life. He finally had the inspiration he needed to create Mickey Mouse Park. With the idea for Mickey Mouse Park finally ready, Walt tasked art director Harper Goff with putting the ideas to paper. Goff's sketches give a lot of insight into Walt's genesis of Disneyland and show exactly what Mickey Mouse Park would have been like. The park would have been situated directly next to the Disney Studios in Burbank on a relatively small 8 acres of land. It would have included 10 or so attractions, all designed so that both children and adults could enjoy them, a trait of particular importance to Walt. At the center of Mickey Mouse Park would have been a turn-of-the-century village, directly inspired by Marceline. This village would have contained many shops, including a toy store, candy factory, doll hospital, and even an art dealer for Disney employees to sell their work. The village would have also featured working fire and police departments, as well as a town hall disguised administration building and a working post office. A quick carriage ride away from the main village was a smaller Old West-themed outpost. This area would have hosted a few Old West-themed rides and a general store. The park would have also housed a lake with an island in the center. This island would have been a wild bird sanctuary, and guests could view it from one of the riverboats as they made their way around the water. Other areas and attractions in the park included a carnival area with classic Midway-themed attractions, an Indian settlement, a farm, and of course, a railroad connecting it all. It's easy to connect the dots between the plans for Mickey Mouse Park and what became Disneyland, but why did Walt decide against building his park in Burbank? For starters, Walt's vision quickly grew in complexity and scale. He kept thinking of new additions and coming up with new ideas for lands, but more pressingly, Burbank rejected Walt's proposal for Mickey Mouse Park altogether. At the time, amusement parks were viewed as dingy, dirty places where less than desirable crowds would congregate. Burbank didn't want anything of the sort, which led Walt to Anaheim. His original 8-acre project turned into over 160, a scale many of his family, friends, and colleagues were unsure about. But through Walt's perseverance and vision, he created the most successful theme park in history. Disneyland opened in 1955 and became an instant success, solidifying itself quite literally as the happiest place on earth for generations to come. So what do you think? Would you have liked to visit Mickey Mouse Park? What's the most striking difference between it and Disneyland? And how would the Walt Disney Company have turned out differently had Mickey Mouse Park been built as originally planned? Let us know in the comments down below, and please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more episodes of Disney Declassified.